Hey everyone, welcome back to part 2 of the natural metal finish using Vallejo metal colors. In the last video, we had just put a protective coat of intermediate gauzy agent on the natural metal finish, and I was getting ready to do weathering and decaling, and then I ran into some issues. So the first issue was the Badger primer just went kaput on me. I had to re-sand everything and reapply on a lot of areas the paint. The second problem that I ran into was after I did that, I put the metal varnish, and that just ruined the model. It was tacky, it was leaving prints, so I had to respray everything with the clear coat light sheen from Alcalad. So on to the decals, washes, and protecting your finish. Unfortunately, the video with the decaling on there was lost, so I can't show you that, but I'll show you the washes. So remember, we've already had a protective coat of gauzy agent on top of this, then the decals went on, and now we're doing the washes. What I should say about the washes is I'm using the ammo set, which is a really nice set for natural metal finish. They have 3 colors, the black, the dark brown, and the gray. And I'm using the grayish color here because I don't want a really dirty airplane, but I want a nice, just subtle effect of weathering. And the black and the brown wash, they are very noticeable, so they make an airplane really, the panel lines and everything look really stand out. So I think they're really perfect if you want to do a dirtier natural metal finish, but I didn't want that. I still want a lot of the shininess of this airplane. Now the decals, I want to mention something about the decals. As you can see, I chose the Belgian marking, which I really think the pop out on a natural metal finish. They look really gorgeous. They're very just in your face, which I really like. However, these decals were absolutely terrible. They were just thick and they did not want to go on there. I had to use Miss Solvaset. I mean, that's a very harsh decal setting solution. But as you notice, the paint, the metal finish was not ruined by using the decal setting solution because I already had a protective finish on there. The way to get around really bad decals is, one trick is to put them in boiling water. And this will really help a lot. So with Tamiya decals, this is my go-to procedure. And I tried that trick with these decals, but they still didn't really go. They were torn, they were broken. They were just really bad decals. So some of the film is still kind of coming through, but because it's a natural metal finish, it kind of blends in a little. Now, if this was not a natural metal finish and this was a camo, I think the decal film would stand out more. And another trick you can do is after you've put on your decals, you spray your decals one more time with the gauzy agent or future or whatever protective finish you're using, and it will help blend it in, hopefully, and then when you put your final in, it should disappear, the decal film, I mean. But in this case, it just did not do that. These decals were absolutely terrible. And as you can see here, I'm wiping away a lot of the wash using Turpenoid. And again, I'm handling this without my gloves on, and I'm not worried about it because the metal finish is protected with the gauzy agent. It's just great. It really is just a fantastic protecting agent. It's my favorite go-to now. So I don't know what it's made out of, but AK did a fantastic job with that gauzy agent. All right, protecting your natural metal finish. So once you're done decaling, once you're done weathering, you want to protect everything and get everything ready. And in this case, I'm going to use Vallejo's metal varnish, which is the recommended varnish for Vallejo paints. Now, as you already know in the beginning of this video, I mentioned that something went wrong, and I don't know what exactly happened, but the varnish was just messing up the paint. As you can see on this test piece right here, you can get a really nice glossy finish with the paint. That's what I wanted. I wanted a nice glossy bird here, and it looked great on camera, and then a couple hours later, no matter where I touched it, it would leave an imprint. It was just delaminating the paint altogether. And so I don't know if it was me, if I did something wrong. I don't know if the varnish has gone bad, but it just was not doing its job, and so it almost ruined the entire build for me. I had to go back and sand a couple of areas, repaint, and redo everything because it had just ruined the paint so much. And I mean, it ate through the gauzy agent, so that should tell you there's something in there. I don't know what it is, but it just ruined everything. It looks nice right now, and it gives it a nice glossy finish, but it ruined everything. And the way I spray it, by the way, is the same way I've been spraying everything. Put in a couple of drops of the thinner, put in the agent, and back flush, and that's my standard procedure at 20 psi, or drop it down whatever's necessary. For this, I think it was 15 psi because that's what they recommend. But yeah, as you can see, it's given a nice glossy, shiny like finish, and it looks really pretty. Even with the weathering, it's still got a nice shining gloss look to it. Alright, one of the areas that I wanted to cover in this build is how to spray black on an airplane. So you will have a lot of World War II airplanes that have black cowlings and such like that. And most modelers I've seen just spray flat black directly on there. And I don't think that's appropriate. Because in this scale, what you're doing is the black is just too much of a contrast. It's not going to be like that. So it's just too dark, and it's just too stark, and just stands out too much. So what you want to do is, I recommend using RML 66, which is a black gray, and spraying that down as your foundation. So that's your base. So that's what I'm doing here. I'm using Vallejo's black gray, or RML 66, and laying that down. And on this kit, as you notice, the gun bumps or fairings, I don't know what they're called, the bumps, I guess, and the cowling are painted black. So I'm painting those with black gray. And now I'm going to take flat black and thin it down and kind of do a mottling effect on the on top of the black gray, and that gives it a much nicer look and almost somewhat of a semi-weathered black look that is more realistic looking versus just a stark black, because it's just too dark. It's just too dark for this scale. And then I'm using gauzy agent to protect that, because I'm going to put some oils on top of this. And 20 minutes and you're ready to go weather with oils. So waited 20 minutes. I'm using raw umber and burnt sienna. And right there on the oil tank, the oil cap, whatever that's called, oil cap I guess is the correct term, I'm just going to put some raw sienna around it, and then take a clean brush that is not moist at all and just blend it in. And at the bottom I'm doing just a little bit of oil weathering for streaking effects. Again, I don't want this kit to be super dirty. I don't want it to look super dirty or it was a very heavily used airplane. I just want it to be almost factory fresh, like within a couple months of being out of the factory. So just put a 1 to 2 dot and just blend it in and then sweep it back, and that's it. That's all it takes. You already have your protective layer, so the paint is not going to be affected by the oils at all whatsoever. So as you can see, there's a light effect of some exhaust stains and stuff like that, and that's all I'm going for. I'm not going for anything heavy. And hopefully you can see that it's just a subtle effect. And I want to make it streak a little bit further back. And if you want these streaks to be longer, you can dampen your brush with some terpenoid and sweep back, and it will exaggerate the effect a little bit more, but I don't want to go for that. I think that's more if the airplane has been used for a while. And again, I didn't want that effect. I want it to be still fairly fresh out of the factory. Okay, as you can see, everything is good, and I'm going to put a flat finish on the black cowling and the gun fairings or bumps. And my favorite go-to is the flat by Vallejo. I actually think it's a really nice flat. It's not super flat, and it's not a glossy, but it's this really nice, just very toned down flat. I actually prefer it over Tamiya. I actually prefer it over other flats. I definitely prefer it over the Alcalad flat, because that just really tones things down to such a level. And if when you're removing the tape, just be careful. You know, you don't want to rip away your paint, so just be gentle when you remove your tape. And you can see the effect is really nice. The black isn't completely 100% flat dead. It's still got a little bit of a natural shine to it, but it's still flat black, and I think that's a really nice effect for this kit. And while you're peeling the tape away, you will always have some level of tape residue left. And sorry about the camera angle here, guys, but yeah, I'm trying to remove some of that tape residue. And what you can do is you can use a toothpick, or you can use a cotton swab, and using some mildly warm water, you can wipe away the glue residue. And you'll see me do that later on, because these tapes leave a lot of residue. The green tape, which is a painter's tape, really left a lot of residue all over the place. I had to go back and clean that up a lot. But it's also very cheap, and you know, compared to Tamiya, I can get 10 times more for the same price, but it does leave a lot of residue. So you can see I'm just removing the tape, checking everything, wiping away any residue. This is your last chance really to make sure that everything is good to go, because now that we're going to add in the rest of the parts and get everything ready, it's going to be a pain in the butt if you miss something and you have to fix it after this point. So be due diligent and make sure you got everything at this stage here. So as I mentioned earlier in the video, I had some problems with this kit. In particular, I had problems with the Vallejo metal varnish. And I don't know what happened. I don't know if it was me. I just don't know what happened. But I had to go back and use the Alcalad light sheen coat to fix everything, because everywhere I was touching, it left marks, or it ruined the paint, or just delaminated the paint. So I'm going around here gently using my 0.2 millimeter to spray in the Alcalad light sheen over the Vallejo metal varnish. Now, it doesn't look like it's changed the tone of the metal color that much, but it did take it down slightly. So it's not as... it's still fairly shiny, it's just not as shiny. And also remember, if you have to do this, be careful when you go around those window ports and lights, because it will slightly put a foggy tint on it. So just be careful when you're doing that. So I'm being very precise with my 2 millimeter needle nozzle setup here. But this had to be done. The Vallejo metal varnish just was ruining everything. And you can see it's perfect. Touch it, no issues.